Good evening, dear students. Welcome to the English Canvas. In this session, we'll be exploring one of the most powerful and thought provoking voices in Indian literature, Sharan Kumar Limbale. A writer, critic, and theorist, Limbale's works represent the pain, protest, and pride of the Dalit community. His life and writings not only expose the brutal realities of caste oppression but also celebrate the spirit of resistance and self assertion. Today, we'll take a detailed look at his life, major works, and literary style, and understand how he redefined the very idea of aesthetics and literature through the lens of Dalit experience. So, stay with me till the end of this lecture as we unfold the journey of a writer who turned his sufferings into strength and his words into a revolution, right? So Sharan Kumar Limbale is one of the most powerful voices in modern Indian literature and a key figure in Dalit writing in Marathi. His work blends autobiography, social critique, and aesthetics, offering a voice to the voiceless and exposing the realities of caste discrimination in Indian society. His writings are not just literary text, actually, they are documents of protest, self assertion, and identity formation. So, he was born on 1st June 1956 at Solapur district, Maharashtra. His native language, his mother tongue is Marathi. Limbale was born to a Dalit mother and a high caste landlord father. So his life represents the psychological trauma, social humiliation, and existential struggles of Dalit in a caste-ridden society. Limbale's childhood Limbale's childhood was marked by poverty, alienation, and identity crisis, themes that deeply shaped his literary voice. He turned to writing as a means to assert his humanity and articulate the collective pain of the Dalit community. Let's talk about his major works. So Sharan Kumar Limbale has written over 40 books, including novels, short stories, poems, literary criticism, and essays. And some of his most significant works include Akar Mashi, The Outcast, which was published in 1984. So it's a autobiographical novel. Akar Mashi is the autobiographical novel of Sharan Kumar Limbale. The novel was actual written in Marathi, which was later translated into English by Santosh Bhumkar. It is the story of Limbale's own life, a Dalit boy born of a high caste father and an untouchable mother. It explores identity crisis, social exclusion, and the pain of belonging nowhere. So the text became a landmark in Dalit autobiography comparable to Om Prakash Valmiki's Jhuthan and Bama's Kurukku. Second book is Towards and Aesthetics of Dalit Literature, which was published in 2004. So, this is a critical and theoretical text where Limbale challenges traditional Sanskrit and Western aesthetics, proposing instead a Dalit aesthetics based on experience, pain, and social reality. Sharan Kumar Limbale defines Dalit literature as a revolutionary literature born out of the struggle against caste oppression. This book is a foundational text in Dalit literary theory, widely used in universities and research. The third is Hindu. It's a novel. It's a powerful fictional portrayal of caste based discrimination, communalism, and the politics of religion. It criticizes the Hindutva ideology that seeks the homogenize Indian identity while marginalizing Dalits and minorities. The fourth novel is Sanatan. So, this novel deals with caste hierarchies, untouchability, and the hypocrisy of religious institution. It continues Limbale's engagement with social injustice and human dignity. And we have some other works of his as well. Aurubhanga, this is actually short story. Dalit aesthetics, essays and reflection. Pan on Fire, it's an essay on Dalit identity and aesthetics. And the fourth one is Dalit Brahman. So this is also a novel. So now we'll discuss his literary style and technique. So the first point is autobiographical realism. So Limbale's writing is rooted in real experience rather than imagination. His autobiographical style transforms personal pain into collective protest. He does not use ornate or symbolic language. Instead, he employs direct, raw, and powerful narration to reflect the harshness of Dalit life. Second is protest and assertion. So every line in his works carries a tone of revolt against untouchability, Brahminical dominance, and socio-economic exploitation. His writing becomes an act of self-assertion and identity reclamation for the Dalit community. The third is social realism. So Limbale follows the realist tradition, exposing the ground realities of Indian villages where the caste operates as an invisible but oppressive force. He depicts hunger, humiliation, and social exclusion with unflinching honesty. The fourth is language and tone. So he deliberately writes in simple and unpolished Marathi, which is often mixed with Dalit dialects to preserve authenticity and oral texture. So the tone alternates between anger, pain, and resilience, reflecting the lived experience of marginalized. Philosophical depth. So, in his critical works, Limbale redefines the concept of beauty in art. He argues that art can't be divorced from social responsibility and insists that Dalit literature must reflect reality, rebellion, and transformation. So his contribution is very important to Dalit literature. Limbale has played a central role in shaping Dalit literary criticism and providing it with a theoretical foundation. He bridged the gap between creative writing and literary theory. So through his concept of Dalit aesthetics, he established a new way of reading literature from the perspective of the oppressed rather than the privileged. He gave academic legitimacy to Dalit literature, placing it alongside mainstream Indian and Western theories. So let's talk about his critical reception. So, Sharan Kumar Limbale's work has received widespread critical acclaim for their honesty, realism, and social relevance. His autobiography, Akarmashi, the English translation is The Outcast, is often praised as a landmark in Dalit literature, admired for its raw expression of pain and identity crisis. Critics appreciate the way Limbale transforms personal suffering into collective protest, making his story a voice for the entire marginalized community. However, some traditional critics initially found his language too harsh and direct, arguing that it lacked the refinement of classical literature. Yet, this very rawness became his strength and authenticity, aligning with the purpose of Dalit writing to speak truth without ornamentation. So his theoretical work towards and aesthetics of Dalit literature also gained a strong academic recognition. Scholars value it for redefining literary beauty and art and from the standpoint of the oppressed. So it has become a foundational text in understanding Dalit literary theory and continues to influence modern literary criticism. So overall, Limbale is celebrated as a pioneer who gave legitimacy and voice to a Dalit experience within Indian literary studies. Right? Now we'll talk about his legacy. So Sharan Kumar Limbale's legacy lies in his ability to transform personal anguish into collective consciousness. He not only gave voice to the marginalized but also redefined the purpose of literature itself, turning it into a tool for social awareness and justice. Through Akarmashi, he established the autobiographical mode as a central to Dalit expression, while towards an aesthetics of Dalit literature provided a theoretical foundation for Dalit criticism. His ideas continue to influence scholars, activists, and winters who seek to challenge caste hierarchies and reclaim dignity through art. Right? So Limbale's works are now studied in universities across India and abroad, marking him as a pioneer of Dalit aesthetics and modern Marathi literature. His contribution ensures that Dalit literature stands not on the margins but at the heart of Indian literary discourse. Right? Now we'll read the poem, the White Paper. White Paper is one of the most powerful poems in Marathi Dalit literature, reflecting the rage, rebellion, and assertion of Dalit identity, written in a in a tone of protest and awakening. The poem is a political declaration of equality and human rights. So this poem was actually written in Marathi, which was later translated into English by Priya Adharkar. It captures Limbale's passionate demand for basic human dignity, not charity or mercy. So, the white paper becomes a symbol of truth and confrontation, a metaphorical document challenging centuries for injustice. So the poem belongs to the Dalit literary movement that emerged in Maharashtra after Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's social reform. In the 1970s and 1980s, Dalit writers began using literature as a weapon of protest against caste based oppression. Limbale, one of the leading voices of this movement, used poetry to express collective anger and social awakening. White Paper reflects the post Ambedkarite consciousness where the Dalit writer demands, not pleads, for his constitutional and moral rights. So let's read the poem line by line and we'll understand the deep meaning behind these lines. So I do not ask. I do not ask for the sun and moon from the sky. I wait. Your farm, your land, your high houses or mansions. I do not ask for gods or rituals, caste or sects, or even for your mother, sisters, and daughters. So, this is the first stanza of the poem. So, in these lines from the poem White Paper by Sharan Kumar Limbale, the speaker is making a powerful statement about what they don't want or need from the society. First, the speaker says they don't ask for the sun or moon from the sky. They don't ask for the sun and the moon from the sky, which symbolizes grand and impossible demands. They do not seek ownership. Your farm, your land, your high house or mansions. It means they don't seek ownership of farms, land, or the high houses, the large homes, meaning they are not interested in material wealth or property. This reflects a rejection of the conventional desires for physical and economic power. Right? Next, the speaker declares that they don't ask for gods or the rituals or the caste or sects. So they don't demand, they don't ask for gods, rituals, caste, or sects. This shows a rejection of religious practices and social structures that often divide and oppress people based on their beliefs, rituals, and caste systems. The speaker is distancing themselves from these social norms and expectations. Finally, the speaker says they don't ask for the women or even for your mother, sister, and daughters. It means they don't ask for the women in another person's family, specifically their mothers, their sisters, or their daughters. So this line signifies that the speaker has no desire to claim or to control the personal lives or relationship of others. It is a way of rejecting ownership or control over people, particularly women who have often been treated as possessions in a patriarchal society, right? The next stanza is, I ask for my rights as a man. Each breath from my lungs sets off a violent trembling in your text and tradition, your hells and heavens, fearing pollution. So, this is the second stanza. So the speaker is talking about his demand of basic human rights. He says he only wants his rights as a person. So the speaker says that he only wants his rights as a person. It means he is asking for respect and equality. He describes how every time he speaks or expresses himself, it shakes and disturbs the traditional beliefs and religious ideas of others. So these beliefs and ideas are scared that the speaker's demands will make their system seem impure and flawed. So here we can see that he actually asks for the rights as a human being. Each breath for his lungs set off a violent trembling in their texts and traditions, in their hells and heavens, fearing pollution. So every time, so he asks only, he only wants their rights as a person. It means he's asking for respect and equality, right? So he describes how every time he speaks or expresses themselves, it shakes or disturbs the traditional belief and religious ideas of others. So he is asking for the basic rights for himself and his people as well. Now the next stanza. Your arms lift together to bring to ruin our dwelling places. You will beat me, break me, look and burn my habitation. But my friends, how will you tear down my words, planted like a sun in the east? Right? So the speaker talks about the violence and destruction their people have faced. The speaker mentions how the oppressors have come together, right? এখানে আবার to bring to ruin our dwelling space. Your arms leap together. Your arms leap together to bring to ruin our dwelling places. You will beat me, break me, loot and burn my habitation. But my friends, how will you tear down my words planted like a sun in the east? So he mentions how the oppressors have come together and using their strength to destroy the speaker's home and community. He talks about being physically harmed, beaten and broken, while their homes, his and his people's home are looted and burned. This shows the intense suffering and attacks they have endured. However, despite all this violence, the speaker turns to their words. How will you tear down my words planted like a sun in the east? So the speaker turns to his words, which they describe as being planted like a sun in the east. This means that even though their physical world can be destroyed, But their words and ideas are strong, like the rising sun, and it can't be easily erased or torn down. So the sun in the east symbolizes hope, strength, and something that will always rise, and no matter what happens, right? Now the next stanza is my rides, contagious caste rides fast festering, city by city, village by village, men by men, for that's what my rights are, sealed off, outcast, blocked, exiled. I want my rights, give me my rights. Will you deny this incendiary state of things? So the speaker describes that the struggle for their rights and how it leads to widespread unrest and conflict. The speaker begins by saying that their rights, their fight for their fights are for their rights only, right? And this caused contagious caste rights. This means that the demand for equality and justice spread like an infection and causing disturbance and riots in cities, villages, and among people everywhere. So, speaker highlights that their rights are constantly being denied. They are sealed off. They are sealed off, treated as an outcast, blocked from the opportunities, as we can see that road blocked and exiled. It means they are blocked from the opportunities and exiled from the society. The speaker is making a strong demand for their right. है ना, we कहते हैं ना कि I want my rights, give me my rights. So he is making a strong demand for his rights, insisting on being treated fairly and equally. And he asks whether the listener will continue to ignore or deny the incendiary, it means explosive or dangerous situation that this denial has created. So the word in incendiaries here suggests that the situation is volatile and can lead to more unrest and conflict if their rights are not granted. Now the last stanza of the poem is I'll uproot the scriptures like railway tracks, burn like a city bus your lawless laws. My friends, my rights are rising like the sun. Will you deny the sunrise? So the speaker expresses his determination to fight against the unfair systems and reclaim their rights. So the speaker first talk about the uprooting. Yes, uprooting the scriptures like the railway track in this line. He actually talks about uprooting the scriptures like railway track. It means they are ready to tear down the religious and cultural text they have been used to justify oppression, just as one might remove old unnecessary रेलवे ट्रैक. जैसे अननेसेसरी रेलवे ट्रैक्स होते हैं ना, उनको रिमूव कर दिया जाता है. ऐसे ही वो कह रहा है कि जो ये रिलीजियस और कल्चरल टेक्स्ट है, ही इज़ रेडी टू टीयर डाउन दिस रिलीजियस एंड कल्चरल टेक्स्ट दैट हैव बीन यूज्ड टू जस्टिफाई ऑपरेशन, right? So he also mentions that burning the lawless laws here, the lawless laws like a city bus, like a city bus. He will burn, or they will burn the lawless laws like a city bus, which symbolizes their desire to destroy the unjust laws that have kept them oppressed, right? Now the speaker declares that their rights are rising sun. My rights are rising, my rights are rising like the sun. So he says, he actually declares that his rights are like rising sun. His rights are actually rising like the sun. The image of sun rising represents powerful force of hope, light, and new beginning. And the speaker is confident that their rights will shine through just like the sun and can't be stopped. Finally, the speaker challenges the oppressors by asking if they will deny the sunrise. ये पूछ रहा है ना इसको, लास्ट में इसने क्वेश्चन पूछा इन्होंने, will you deny the sunrise? So he challenges the oppressor by asking if they will deny the sunrise. So the sunrise here symbolizes the inevitable rise of justice and equality which the speaker believes can't be prevented, right? नाउ सो ये काफ़ी था इस पोएम के लिए, इतना मतलब इतना डिस्कशन. अब हम डिस्कस करते हैं थीम्स को, इस पोएम के थीम्स को डिस्कस करते हैं. सो द फर्स्ट थीम इज सोशल इनजस्टिस. The poem highlights the unfair treatment and discrimination faced by Dalits in society. The white paper in the poem represents a blank page. White paper क्या है, जिस पर कुछ भी नहीं लिखा है. So this is a blank page symbolizing the lack of opportunities and recognition for Dalits. The second theme is marginalization. So the poem reflects the marginalization of Dalit voices and experience. The imagery of a white paper that remains empty signifies how Dalit experiences are often ignored or erased from history and society. The third is struggle for identity. So the poem shows the struggle of Dalits to assert their identity and gain respect. The poem contrasts with the harsh realities faced by Dalits, symbolizing their fight to be recognized and valued. अगर हम इस पोएम के सिंबल्स की बात करें तो पहला सिंबल है सन एंड मून, right? So sun and moon describes the privilege and divine ownership denied to Dalits, right? The second is white paper. So it represents truth, protest and a written record of injustice. Also symbolizes purity of intent against the corruption of society. The third is text, sorry for the handwriting, and traditions. So the religious scriptures, the holy books, the religious books and the social customs that justify oppression. The fourth is fire or burning. So it's a revolution and cleansing of an unjust orders. And the fifth is sunrise. So sunrise symbolizes hope, liberation and the dawn of quality, right? So white paper can be seen as a poetic manifesto of Dalit humanism. It asserts Dalits no longer seek acceptance with oppressive systems. They seek to redefine those systems altogether. The poem's revolutionary energy lies in its refusal to beg, its assertive selfhood and its moral authority grounded in truth. So Sharan Kumar Limbale's white paper stands as a milestone in Dalit poetry, a text that transforms personal pain into political awakening through stark imagery and uncompromising voice. Limbale challenges the consciousness of society and asserts the inevitability of change. It is not merely a poem but a document of protest, a call for justice, and a declaration of human dignity. The poet's closing image, his right rising like the sun, continues to resonate as a symbol of Dalit empowerment and revolution. Right? Now we'll discuss the previous year questions of this topic. So the first question is, critically explain the following lines with reference to context. तो ये तो खैर ऑब्वियस है कि ये जो लाइंस हैं ये लिम्बाले की पोएम द वाइट पेपर से एक्सट्रैक्टेड हैं. सो चलिए लाइंस को हम फिर भी पढ़ते हैं. यू विल बीट मी, ब्रेक मी, लूट एंड बर्न माई हैबिटेशन, बट माई फ्रेंड्स, हाउ विल यू टीयर डाउन माई वर्ड्स प्लांटेड like a sun in the east. So you need to begin your answer with a brief background of Sharan Kumar Limbale as a Dalit poet and activist. You need to mention that the lines are taken from his poem White Paper, which powerfully represents the Dalit struggle, resilience and assertion of identity. You need to state that these lines reflect the indomitable spirit of the oppressed who may be physically attacked but whose voice and words can't be silenced. So यहाँ पर reference to context लिखना है. सो इसमें आप ये भी लिख सकते हो कि द पोएम वाइट पेपर एक्सपोजेज द एट्रोसिटीज़, humiliation and violence faced by Dalits in a caste-ridden society. In these lines, the poet directly addresses the oppressor who tried to destroy Dalit homes and lives through violence. सो फर्स्ट आपको क्या लिखना है, आपको सबसे पहले लिखना है इंट्रोडक्शन, जिसमें आप कॉन्टेक्स्ट की कॉन्टेक्स्ट सेटिंग लिखेंगे, राइट। सबसे पहले उसमें आप ये शरण कुमार लिम्बाले का छोटा सा इंट्रोडक्शन देंगे, मतलब उनका ब्रीफ बैकग्राउंड बताएंगे, शरण कुमार लिम्बाले एज अ दलित पोएट एंड एक्टिविस्ट। उसके बाद आपको ये बताना है कि जो लाइंस है ये वाइट पेपर विच इज़ रिटन बाय शरण कुमार लिम्बाले से ली हुई हैं, and these lines and as well as the poem represents the Dalit struggle, resilience and assertion of identity, right? And these lines reflect the indomitable spirit of the oppressed who may be physically attacked but whose voice and words can be silenced. Secondly, आपको reference to context करना है. In this, you can write the poem White Paper exposes the atrocities, humiliation and violence faced by Dalits in caste-ridden society. In these lines, the poet directly addresses the oppressors and who tried to destroy Dalit homes and lives through violence. Yet the poet asserts that their words, truth and consciousness can't be destroyed. They will rise like the sun, symbolizing enlightenment and revolution. थर्ड, इंटरप्रिटेशन लिखना है यहाँ पर. इंटरप्रिटेशन इज बेसिकली अ क्रिटिकल एक्सप्लेनेशन. जैसे आप यहाँ पर इमेजरी की बात कर सकते हो, द इमेजरी ऑफ बीट, अभी लिख लीजिए, द इमेजरी ऑफ बीट, imagery of break and loot. So imagery of 3 terms and burn as well. तो ये 4 terms हैं, beat, break, loot and burn. So the imagery of these words symbolizes the systematic oppression and centuries of exploitation. There is a metaphor as well. तो यहाँ पर एक तो हमने बात की imagery की, imagery किसकी, burn, beat, break and loot. Secondly, metaphor. metaphor क्या है यहाँ पर, yes, words planted like a sun in the east. So this line, this is a metaphor which conveys hope, illumination and the beginning of a new era of aware dignity. It represents literature as resistance, words becoming weapons against caste-based injustice. So the poem reflects Dalit assertion, where language becomes an act of rebellion and writing becomes political. So the lines also suggest moral victory even if the body and the home are destroyed. Truths and ideas remain immortal, right? फोर्थ, आपको यहाँ पर क्रिटिकल इंसाइट करना है, और critical insight where you need to conclude all the points. So Limbale elevates Dalit literature as a source of social transformation. His word symbolizes a collective consciousness awakening against oppression. The use of simple yet powerful diction, imagery and defiance enhances the poem's emotional and revolutionary impact. Thus, these lines become a manifesto of survival and resistance, affirming that truth can't be silenced by violence. So, इतना काफ़ी है इस आंसर के लिए, आप इसको लिख सकते हैं ये सारे की पॉइंट्स को ऐड करके, राइट। अभी सेकंड क्वेश्चन पर चलते हैं. Examine how Limbale conveys the impact of rising consciousness and voices of Dalits on orthodox Hindu traditions in white paper. So you need to begin your answer by stating that Sharan Kumar Limbale's White Paper is a landmark poem in Dalit literature which captures the awakening of Dalit consciousness and the revolt against caste-based hierarchy. You need to mention that through this poem, Limbale challenges orthodox Hindu traditions that have historically marginalized Dalits and denied them dignity, education, and equality. So the poem serves as both a testimony of pain and declaration of resistance. Secondly, you need to write about impact of the Dalit consciousness. Sorry for the handwriting. So the poem reflects a new era of Dalit self-awareness where the community refuses to accept humiliation silently. Limbale portrays the rise of voice and assertion among Dalits as a threat to the established order of Orthodox Hinduism. So the traditional system based on Manusmriti and Brahminical codes is questioned for its hypocrisy and inhumanity. So the poet's voice becomes the symbolic collective protest. It's an awakening that shakes the moral and spiritual foundation of caste-based society, right? इसके बाद you need to write about critique of orthodox Hindu traditions. So Limbale exposes the double standards of upper caste morality and religion, which speak of purity, compassion, and karma, but practice untouchability, exclusion, and violence. So, this poem represents Dalit consciousness as revolutionary, not merely seeking sympathy but demanding justice and equality. So, by voicing his pain and anger, the poet demystifies religion and reveals how it has been used as a tool of social control. So his language is direct, fiery, and confrontational, showing the collapse of fear and the emergence of courage. Right? The fourth point you can add is symbolism and poetic devices. So, white paper itself symbolizes truth, transparency, and exposure, right? It's an open document of suffering and manifesto of rebellion. The imagery of fire, blood, and light depicts both the violence of oppression and the illumination of awareness. Through such imagery, Limbale asserts that the awakening of Dalits can't be suppressed. It's a social revolution that will purify and transform society. So by using these all 4 points, you can conclude your answer that Limbale successfully shows that rising Dalit consciousness has begun to shake the pillars of orthodox Hindu beliefs but built on inequality. His poetry is both a protest and prophecy announcing the dawn of a just, humane society. While white paper thus becomes a powerful literary revolt where the oppressed turn their pain into a source of empowerment and renewal. Right? चलिए हम नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन की तरफ चलते हैं. White paper is an indictment of a long history of injustice and a clarion call for the dawn of human rights, voicing revolutionary Dalits consciousness. Examine. So सबसे पहले इंट्रोडक्शन में हम लिखेंगे you need to begin your answer by acknowledging that Sharan Kumar Limbale's White Paper. White Paper is a militant and revolutionary poem in Marathi Dalit literature. This poem mentions that it is both an indictment of centuries of oppression and declaration of Dalit human rights, giving voice to the historical silenced. The poem highlights social injustice, caste-based discrimination, and untouchability while calling for liberation and equality. second point is which you need to um, add in your answer, that is indictment of a long history of injustice. So you need to add indictment of historical injustice. Limbale highlights the persistent oppression faced by Dalits, exclusion from social, religious, and economic life. He critiques religion, text, and rituals and social practices as well that justify inequality. The poem exposes the systematic exploitation, Dalits beaten, exiled, and their homes burnt and voices silenced. By directly addressing oppressors, Limbale confronts historical wrongs in a tone of moral outrage. The third point is call for the hu- call for the dawn of human rights. So this will be the third point. So the poem is not just a critique, it's a manifesto demanding equality and justice. There are some lines in the poem. I ask for my rights as a man. Yes. I एक minute. Yes. I ask for my rights as a man. So that signify a universal plea of human dignity, and the white paper symbolizes truth, transparency, and accountability, right? Which is a written record of injustice demanding redress. Limbale frames Dalit rights as non-negotiable and asserting the community's moral and political calm over centuries of marginalization. Fourth, we will discuss the revolutionary Dalit consciousness, right? So Limbale's poem voices collective anger, resistance, and hope. The poem transforms personal suffering into social revolution, portraying Dalit identity as assertive, self aware, and unyielding. Imagery of sunrise, fire, and planted words shows that Dalit consciousness is rising and unstoppable, challenging social and religious orthodoxy. So you need to conclude your answer with all these points. Like white paper serves a dual purpose. It indicts centuries of oppression and simultaneously ushers in the dawn of justice and human rights, right? And Limbale's revolutionary poetic voice ensures that Dalit struggles are recognized and their demands for equality resonates across generations. It's a poem that turns literature into activism, demanding social reform and moral accountability. Right? So, I think this is very much sufficient for this lecture for today's lecture, as we have discussed a lot of things in a single class about Sharan Kumar Limbale. First of all, I would like to thank you all for joining today's session. In today's lecture, we covered Sharan Kumar Limbale, his life, his major works, and unique literary style that gave voice to Dalit experience. Next, we have read and understand the poem White Paper. This is a revolutionary poem that exposes centuries of caste oppression and asserts the rights and dignity of Dalit community. After that, we have discussed the previous year questions. We discussed the critical interpretations, themes, and exam oriented insight to strengthen your answer writing skills. So always remember, Limbale's works are not only the literary text but also social documents of protest and empowerment. Understanding his writing helps us appreciate how poetry and literature can challenge injustice and inspire change. So keep reflecting on these ideas and don't forget to revisit the key lines, themes, and symbols that we have discussed today. Thank you so much for being here. Good night.